and welcome to Beauty in the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, I have a very special guest today. Her name is Angela Sturm, Dr. Angela Sturm. She's a facial plastic surgeon in private practice in Bellaire, Texas, which is right outside of Houston. Now, during her medical training, Dr. Sturm received numerous awards for surgical excellence, including the top medical student research prize from the National Academy of Otolaryngology. Now, Dr. Sturm has co-authored and published numerous medical journal articles on head and neck surgical techniques, as well as facial plastic surgical techniques, and is active in the American Academy of Facial Plastic Surgeons, which has a conference coming up that we'll talk about. Now, she's also been involved with her community, as in the Harris County Medical Society, Trans Forward, Leadership Houston, DTAG Tattoo Removal Program, and the Fittest Doctor Challenge. Oh, that's interesting. And she supports aid to victims of domestic abuse and provides free care through the Face Foundation. Welcome to Beauty in the Biz, Dr. Sturm. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So the first thing I want to ask is, how in the world do you become a facial plastic surgeon? Because that's so specific. Like, did you grow up with surgeons, or how does a little girl end up saying, I want to be a facial plastic surgeon?
You know, it's kind of funny because I grew up in a small town in West Texas, and my dad was a farmer, and my mom didn't work until I was in high school, and she sells Aflac. And so it's very different from everything I grew up with. You know, and for the longest time, my family knew what I did, but maybe not exactly, which was okay. But I knew growing up there that I wanted to be in medicine because it was a small town. It was rural. The medicine there was okay, but probably not as good as it could have been. You know, and my grandmother was always sick, and she was a diabetic that never took care of herself. So we were in and out of the hospital. So just kind of seeing that side of it. And I always tell this story, and it's hopefully funny. Whenever I went to the doctor as a high schooler, I had allergies and my, congestion, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm telling the doctor, oh, and my uvula is swollen, because I looked it up, and I'm old enough that it was in an encyclopedia because I didn't Google at the time. And the guy looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I was like, man, if this guy can do it, I can do this. He didn't know, he didn't know what a uvula was. So I was like, I can do this. I could be a doctor, and so I decided that that's what I kind of wanted to do, and looked at doing research and medicine. And then on a Saturday afternoon in a lab in college, decided, you know what, I just really want to go into medicine. I like people. I like being around people, and, and talking to them, and hanging out with rats in the lab wasn't really my thing, So went into med school thinking I was going to do ER because that was what was big at the time. The show was so popular and it seemed exciting. And I volunteered in ER and then got in there and decided maybe that wasn't quite the right fit until I watched some surgery and was like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Either you fall in love with it or you don't, I think. And I was like, that's it. I want to do surgery. And was thinking maybe OB-GYN just because I really like the women empowerment part of it, and, affecting the lifestyle and being able to talk to them a lot different parts of their lives. And then I did an ENT rotation and watched them make an ear out of a rib and was like, that's it. I'm sold. You come home and say, how was your day? Oh, I made an ear, no big deal. I was like, sold. You obviously have the coolest job. So kind of got more interested in it, and decided I really, it was kind of all the things that I wanted. I wanted to be able to talk to people about who they are, how they see themselves, how the world sees them, and what all those things mean. The face is just so personal about your ethnicity and your gender, and how people see you and what you want to convey to people. If you want to feel youthful or look youthful, and you're like, I feel this way, and I look in the mirror and it's a different way, and be able to be along that journey with them. So it kind of, all the pieces came together. I thought, yeah, this is it. This is kind of what I want to do. And honestly, this sounds crazy, but I didn't know anybody that looked like me or was like me that did this. And it was almost that challenge of like, okay, I know I can do X, Y, and Z. And then this maybe I want to do it, but I'm not 100% sure I can, but I like the challenge of let's do it. And then if that doesn't work out, I know I have a lot of good backup. So it'll be fine. And maybe a different perspective, but it's like, let's do it. Why not?
Good for you. Now, the next question is, and this happens a lot. I think you go through rotation and you realize, wait a second, I love this part of surgery. First I love surgery, then I love this part of surgery. But so you go through that, then you go through residency, then you go through fellowship. How in the world, now what was the journey for you? How do you enter this marketplace? Do you go out on your own? Did you go through a university first? Did you join a big practice? How did you get to the private solo practice?
So my path is probably a little bit different than a lot of people, because I joined my fellowship director right after finishing my fellowship. And I kind of looked around at different jobs and I had an idea of what I wanted to do. Even when I was interviewing for fellowship, I knew I wanted to still have a foot in academics and then be in private practice, which is sort of a hard thing to do and negotiate. And, I knew I wanted to be involved sort of politically, but be able to have my practice. And it seemed like the best fit at the time, because he had a lot of that going on, and, it was my mentor. So it was a very comfortable place to be, and so that's where I was for a while, and trying to figure out what my practice was and what it was going to look like. And then in the end, it ended up the best move for me to just go out on my own and have my own practice. And and sometimes you make those opportunities. So I'm working on different ways to be in academics, and I still am. I still have my toes in academics and still have my practice, and now I'm able to make a lot of the decisions I need to make and do the things I want to do, and be able to change and pivot and everything I need to do at the moment, which has worked out really well so far.
So, and if you didn't have enough courage, you also decide to open private practice in Houston, of all places, which has to be almost the most competitive place on the planet, next to Miami and New York and Beverly Hills and all that. But how did you end up? I know you said you came from Texas, but it sounds like a small town in Texas. Mm-hmm. Was the fellowship also in Texas?
Yeah, the fellowship was in Houston. So that's what made sense at the time to stay. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like a little bit, but not enough to be as scared as probably you should be,
Naivety has a lot to do with this. You wouldn't do it if you knew as much as you know.
Yeah, if you knew how scary it really was, you'd be like, you'd probably overthink it a bit. But that was, at that point, I'd done med school, residency, fellowship here. And so this was kind of my home to start with. And then it just seemed like, being in the community and getting to know people, there was still a lot of work for everybody. There's a plastic surgeon on every corner. I mean, there really is, but there's also a lot of people that are having work done. I mean, this was the birthplace of breast augmentation, right? So this is, people have it done. And I liked that it sort of fit with my aesthetic, that a lot of my patients, we want to get work done, but we don't want everybody to know. I want it to be supernatural. We want it to be, if anything, on the conservative side, and you can always continue to tweak things. But I like that the patients sort of fit my personality, and I felt comfortable, with them and with the community. I kind of fell in love with the community too.
For sure. So regarding the business side, setting up a practice, there's so many bumps along the way, things you learn on the fly, a lot of wasted money usually, and some mistakes made. Can you just think of a couple of things that you did that you wish you had done differently or not at all?
I think I should have been more confident in my knowledge of my practice and what I wanted it to look like and what I wanted it to be like, because I think whenever you start out, you have that fear of, oh, there's all these decisions to make and there's all this to do. And you can work with different people and get their input, and that's always really helpful. But I think in the beginning, I maybe leaned on people a little too much, because I would, like you said, I would set things up and, set up the supplies with this company, knowing that maybe I wanted to go with a different one, but I'm going to give it a go. And then it ended up not working out and I have to change, and we all do. You make decisions and change all the time. So I think it's taking that input and then knowing exactly what you want to do. Because I knew, but then I probably should have just trusted my gut a little bit more,
Not the truth. Just trust your gut. Do what you want to do, because it's your practice, your personality. And that's who's going to be attracted to you. If you get a designer in there, I've seen this so often, you get a designer in there and it's their vision of you and
Right.
it doesn't depict your personality. And then things are just wonky. The patients can feel that too when things are not congruent.
Mhm.
If your personality is not congruent with the aesthetics of your practice. I've seen that over and over. So you're in Houston and you have to start a practice. Was there no non-compete clause? You didn't have to sign anything?
I was very lucky that location wise, I couldn't be in the same building, which he was very generous about that because everyone else I know, it was a more difficult situation. So I could be anywhere, and then just start on my own and obviously not take anything from that practice, which is totally understandable and absolutely, the way to do it,
Okay. Now,
but I was really lucky.
when it came to buying equipment, because you're a facial plastic surgeon and you're young, and I would think you'd have to build up the surgical practice, and it would be easier to build probably the non-surgical, I'm guessing. So did you bring on a bunch of lasers, or how did you buy equipment? How did you decide what you needed?
It's so funny because I always said, well, I'm not going to have a bunch of lasers. I'm not going to. Here I am. I did get them, but it was all things that I needed to fit a niche in my practice. Say, okay, well, I have this surgical option. I have this, I have, these people in this demographic that I don't have a surgical option for. I need a non-surgical option. I need something for brown spots. I need something for redness. I need, answers to the questions that my patients are asking me, to be able to take care of these. And so I found companies that I really like and I believe in, and I like working with them, and products that are delivering, and it's always hard in the beginning to find the things that work for you and, and know what you're buying because it is a big investment, but I think the company piece of it has been a lot for me because they've been able to support me and be able to get me, the clinical information that I need and be able to make the treatments even better and the way that I want them to be and to be able to deliver for my patients, and feel comfortable with the purchase and knowing that I will be able to pay those off and that they will be profitable, and all the things that you need, that equipment, rather than just sitting in a room somewhere.
Well, I hope those companies are offering marketing support. I know most of them do nowadays, and they just have to. If you're going to make that huge investment, they need to back you on that. And I love to buy, well, I haven't bought anything, but I love to buy things that they have already put a ton of consumer education into it, because that shouldn't be on your dime. You shouldn't have to educate the patients on that. You should educate the patients on your part. Like, you have a problem, I have a solution for your pain, but they need to be doing the consumer awareness. That's anyway. So yeah, so now back to business. Now, you most likely have never managed people before, so that has been a very big challenge for surgeons, because surgeons want to be surgeons and they want to hide in the OR and that's where they're comfortable. And then all of a sudden you are now the leader and you have to hire people, motivate them, train them, onboard them, get them drinking your Kool-Aid. How big of a deal was that for you? Was it an innate skill you had? Did you have to learn it? Are you still learning it? How'd that go with you and staff?
I think it's something we all continue to learn, because it's dealing with people and personalities, and, definitely not anything I learned in med school or residency, or, because you sort of manage people in residency, but it is not the same. It does not necessarily, translate the same. So it was something that I read a lot on. I would get books about, I would, attend leadership seminars and and look at different ways of looking at leadership and things that I can use to, like you said, motivate staff and make sure everybody is looking at this as like a team project and that we're in this together, and looking at how other people do things. And then also, I joined some like women entrepreneur groups and women in business, and things that everyone else does everything else, like nobody else is in medicine. And so I can learn from them things that they do that maybe they've been doing this for a long time, and so take those tips into what we're doing, marketing wise, HR wise, dealing with people, managing people, and I'm always trying to learn from the people around me of like what's working and not working.
Have you had success hiring people? Are you good at that? Or have you had a few hiccups and nightmares?
Well, we so far so good. I opened this practice in the beginning of 2020 and everybody's doing great. And I'm very happy with everybody we have. And I think we have a great team. I like I said, it's the beginning of 2020. So far it's been good. And that's been the way that I've looked at it is okay, we're starting, this is where we're at. This is the growth mindset that we have, and make sure everybody has that same, and this is where we're going, and this is what I want, this is your piece of it, and so we kind of, we make sure everyone's involved. And so every big decision as far as, okay, we're going to do this with the practice, like everybody's in that discussion and they get their input into it. And so it doesn't feel like something is just kind of put on you of, oh, we're doing this now. And you're like, well, I didn't know that, and so we do try to make everyone, so everyone has a vote and has a voice. And that's helpful for me too, because maybe there's something that I haven't thought about or thought about it in that way that they're able to bring to the table. And especially, with like the laser specialist and the esthetician, if it's something that they're going to be doing, I want their input in on it before we implement anything, because it's hard to sell something if you don't really, if someone's like, here, sell this, and you're like, I don't know what that is, rather than, oh, I really believe in this. This is great. I love this product, this machine, or, like that's so much more of a natural thing for them.
I think it's so important to turn this into a team. It's not you against them, it's us. It's us and we, because they have to execute all of this. And right. I love when the surgeon can be the visionary and give the team, okay, team, here's where we're heading. Here's where I'm seeing this practice going, and I need your help building it. So please, I love brainstorming. I think I know everything until I brainstorm with others and think, oh my God, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And you never expected it coming from the receptionist, like who thought of that? Like everybody has really good ideas when they're involved, mm-hmm. And I do think it's easier, boy, if you involve them early on, you're going to get a lot more participation down the road for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, all right, last thing about business. Just give me one piece of advice that you would have done differently if you could do it over again, what would you have done differently?
I would probably gone up on my own sooner.
Oh, okay.
I tried to make a deal work that didn't work, and we've all been there. It's business, it's the way that it is. And you really want it to work. And I think, I put everything I had into that, and then it was longer down the line until I could do my own thing. So I probably would have done my own thing a little bit earlier.
So many surgeons call me and say, I'm in the university, I hate it. Or I'm in a big practice, I hate it. And I just can't jump. And I know they're calling me for motivation. And there's no easy way to do that. Here's what I think ends up happening. When you're in enough pain, you finally jump. Do you have to wait to get to that pain point? Or is there anything people can do to get there faster so they don't waste years dreading going to the office that they don't want to go to?
Yeah.
Any tips on that?
I think it doesn't have to be as scary as it seems. Like we have this idea of, okay, you have to go out and you have to have your own office and your own staff, and you have to start from the beginning, and you have to have all this stuff, and it's so scary. And, and the months between when I left that other practice to when I opened up here, I subleased a space from another doctor. Mm-hmm. I had one employee. I had minimal overhead, and because we opened in January, and in March, the pandemic hit, and we had to close down. And so even if something like that happens, we were okay. I knew that we were going to be okay because my overhead was not that high. What I have to meet to make sure I'm okay is a low bar. And if I can start with that and then, build from there, once you get comfortable and you get more patients, you don't have that stress of, okay, well, I have to support my staff and I have to get this and I have to make this lease of this giant office and this, it doesn't have to be that from the beginning. You can make it what you want, and I would sublease, I think it sublease 2 clinic days. And then one day I could just be there and call patients. And the other days I would work on the other aspects of the business, which was actually really nice to be able to work on the business in the beginning, and not in it, and then you're not doing all the things you need to do to get it set up, to get the groundwork laid, and then it's not as scary, say, okay, well, this is my overhead, and I know I can make that, I know I'm going to be okay, and then build up to whatever you want it to be.
So when you got started, now everyone keep in mind, she just did this less than 2 years ago. How in the world do you start from scratch? Where are these patients coming from? And I'm going to assume you've done some, I assume ENT work plus cosmetic. Are you juggling those two to pay the bills?
So I'm very lucky that I have always been in the place that I could do facial plastics from the beginning. So that's not everybody's situation. People do it all the time where they do ENT and facial plastics, but like I said, just lucky the path that I took, that I've been able to do that. And the con about that is that it takes longer to build, and in that time where you have days where maybe you're not seeing as many patients, then I would go out, and do things in the community. And that's, especially pre-pandemic, that's a lot of how I built my practice. Because even being in another practice, I had to do the hustle. I had to go out there. I had to meet the people. I had to shake the hands. I had to, go to meetings, go to breakfasts, do all the things, get the social media started, do the website. Like, I was doing all of that anyway within a practice. And so it finally clicked, I guess, that it makes sense that I do that for myself.
Let's stay on that for a minute, because most people in today's world have lost that hustle and grind aspect to things. This isn't just going to be handed to you on a silver platter. You have to go out into the community and let them know you're there. So could you just specifically say, what does that look like? Like, how many days a week, or who did you visit, or what worked the best? Because everyone has to know there's no magic to this. It's hard work and networking,
Right. And it doesn't matter, to your point, like, it doesn't matter. And from what I've seen, if you're in a group, in a practice with another person or whatever, like, you have to go out there and you have to do it. You just have to hustle, because people come to see a plastic surgeon. They usually don't go to see a practice, and they maybe for certain things, but for facial plastics, it was definitely like they went to see a surgeon. So I would spend time, like, I joined a couple breakfast groups that were networking for different entrepreneurs, one that was associated with my college, one that was female entrepreneurs, just different ones that you can just seek out and join. And that was really the best thing, because I found the more you can personally get to know people, they get to know you and they trust you, and then they'll be more willing to come in. You can go speak at one of those, and that's fine, and maybe you get a couple patients out of that. But if they really get to know you, then you're like, oh yeah, and they'll refer their friends. And so that has been a really good thing for me, is to be able to get involved in these networking groups, and then get involved in things like Leadership Houston, where I get to know people that are doing all kinds of exciting things, people with all kinds of aspirations to, be on the city council and have these nonprofits. And so I'm involved in what they're doing, with supporting them with their fundraising and supporting them with their nonprofits, and being able to meet more people that way. And so it's just kind of putting yourself out there and meeting them. And yeah, in the beginning, it was a lot, and you can choose how much you do, but I was going to go get it, and it was 4 or 5 days a week. I was doing something. But if my practice wasn't as busy at that time, so I had the time to do it. Also didn't have 2 kids, so that made it easier too.
We're going to get to them too. I don't know how you're doing all that, but I just hope everyone's hearing that you need to figure out, there's a saying, your net worth is your network. And it's so true. Life is about relationships, especially in today's world, where you can't count on a lot of the marketing things. That's changing so darn fast. And you don't own that audience. So you've got to come up with some concrete other ways to grow your practice. And one of them is relationships. Get to know people who know other people who need to know you. If you can figure that out, a million years ago, when I got into this, like 21 years ago, I used to be like a fractional marketing consultant to surgeons. And one surgeon is in a very affluent area here in Northern California. And I used to go to the Chamber of Commerce for him. And as a joke, I say, I have to wear a pin with your name on it or your photo on it, because I'm just the your advocate. Like I was like your PR agent. But frankly, we would have sold so much more. And I got quite a few facelifts out of that. But I would have sold so much more had he been there. like you really, because it takes you to build that relationship. So kudos to you for doing that, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Is there a particular audience? So what's your marketing strategy? Is there a particular audience you're going after, a particular procedure, a particular target market area? Like, do you have a marketing strategy, how you're going about this? Because the world is your oyster. However, you'll run out of the time, money, and effort trying to get to everybody. So you're so much better off trying to focus. Do you have any of that going on? Like, who's your target market and where are they?
It seemed I kind of made my target market who was drawn to me, like you're saying, like who I connect with on a personal basis. I connect with them online as well. It's people that are like me. They're young professionals, maybe they're young moms, maybe they're not, maybe they're dog moms. It's people that are looking at, okay, I'm starting to see the signs of aging. What do I do? I've never tried Botox. I've never, done anything to my skin. What is something that's really gentle and not scary to do, so you can start with things like the Hollywood facial or like the really light lasers like that, and then build that relationship. And then that turns into something else surgical or, referring their friends, things like that. So if I target the people that I know that whenever I meet them in person, we'll have a great relationship. It's much easier, like those are my people. Whenever I see them there, we can have a great conversation about whatever it is, and that's sort of the vibe that I like in the office, and what I try to make, online and social media as well. As like, this is a place to kind of come to and relax and be like, yeah, I'm in the right spot, and so everything about the office we design is just to be very relaxing and like, okay, this is it. I'm glad I'm here, and I can be myself. I can tell you whatever, I'm a pretty open book. And so I have all kinds of conversations with my patients, and they know a lot about me and I know a lot about them. And it ends up being a great personal relationship, which I enjoy very much. And then the patients feel comfortable, telling whatever it is that they're thinking about doing, or maybe this or that, or do you have a referral? And I get calls all the time for referrals for stuff that's definitely not what I do, but like, oh, but I do have somebody that you can go to, and so it's nice having that kind of personal relationship that they feel comfortable asking kind of embarrassing questions or like that. And so if I can and I guess I'm a branding nerd without having that background, that I like everything to be the same, like that is my message. You can be yourself. We will take care of you. You're in good hands. And so everything lines up with that from your social media, that this is just what it is, like open book. And the website, and whenever you come here, I try to make everything have that same feel.
For sure. How important has social media been to you in order to grow your practice and educate patients on your procedures? You have some really fun procedures, and like Hollywood peel, fun names for things that patients will remember. And I love that you give them a choice. You have a non-surgical choice or a surgical choice. In today's world, I mean, to take it from somebody who knows, I've had surgical and non-surgical, and I will continue to rotate between them. So if you can give me those choices, meet me where I'm at. And that's what happens. A lot of the surgeons don't meet people where they're at. They'll only meet them when they're ready for surgery. And I'm not sure that's the right attitude in today's world. They need to know you, and not right that second. They need to know you before they decide to have surgery.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, give those options, because so many people are looking for non-surgical options and are saying, maybe surgery down the line, but that's not really what I'm thinking right now. Or what do you have that can get me results that I can see? And, and maybe part of that hesitation is getting to know all these devices and, what works for you and not, and doing all of that, because it is a lot to look into everything. But I think it is important to have that for your patients, because it gives them that whole package of, yeah, you can have a facelift, but you got to take care of your skin, and you got to, and then there's the maintenance. And not nobody, because there are people, but lots of people, they don't want to just do that and then be done. They want to always continue to look good. And that's the whole idea, is you want to continue to look good. And so if you can have options and be able to talk to them about And I like to talk to them about what I have and then also what I don't have, if there's something that might be better. And I have, a friend dermatologist and say, let me give you her card. And then I can and build that relationship with that patient as well as, the other doctors of, being able to get them the best results, no matter what it is. And then I found then it makes a better relationship with them that they'll come back for other stuff later, rather than, the hammer and the nail,
Right,
this is what I do. This is what I want to do,
You might not know this, but if you looked at the pie, what percentages do you, maybe anecdotally or you actually know, come from social media versus word of mouth referral versus a print ad? Are you doing any of the old school marketing, or is it all social media and word of mouth?
I have done the print, but it doesn't have great ROI for me. I've done it whenever I've known the publisher, and it was more of like a relationship with that person in the community, to kind of support them rather than the ROI, knowing it wasn't going to be that great moving forward, or to use it for other things. Because I like to take one thing and then, make a social media post and social media story about it and tell the story about what that is and why we were involved and, and what they're supporting. And because a lot of the, I'm sure everywhere, like the publishers will also support things in their community. And so I can support them. And then that, and make the story out of it more for social media than actually expecting something out of the publication, if that makes any sense. But I would say at least 60% of my patients are word of mouth, because that's just the way the practice is, which is great. And I love it. But then, maybe probably 25% is social media, and then other Google search and all the other little things. But the majority is word of mouth, because I don't know, it's the best.
It is.
Yeah, but the social media has been a great way for me to meet new patients, and then also keep in touch with the patients that I have. And like you said, introduce the new treatments that we have, introduce new ways of doing things, and keep them interested in what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it may be something that drives people crazy about me, but I always like to be doing something new and different, and let's try this and let's do that and let's change now and let's pivot and let's do this. And and the patients love it. They'll come in and say, okay, well, I saw that you did this. Well, can I benefit from that? And well, what about this? And can we do that? And, and so it's been a bit of like internal marketing just to kind of keep them abreast, which is a much easier way. Like we send out emails and they like that and they like the education of it. But I think I get a lot more response from the social media, that they're seeing kind of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
And I see you're doing most of your own social media. How bad of a time commitment is that?
So I actually do have someone that helps me with the social media. Like me or one of the staff members will take the videos, we'll interview the patients, we do a lot of that. And she does some of the videos as well, but then she does the editing and will help, post it. And so it's not a big time commitment for me. And we've kind of worked out between me and the digital marketer what I can do and what I want her to do, so that it makes sense, time wise.
That's a smart way to do it, because you're doing a very good job of educating. So when you get involved, you're going to be talking about a treatment typically. And then you can see all the other work. That I'm so glad you're delegating that, because I can't imagine, some of these surgeons are spending hours a day on this. And I just can't imagine that being a great use of your time. Some of that makes sense. Most of it doesn't. Personally, I think you should be delegating like 80% of it, but you do what you do, I like that saying, do what only you can do,
Right.
Delegate the rest for sure.
Right.
So, and the reason you need to delegate, is because you mentioned 2 children. You have a pandemic child?
Yes.
What happened? What was going on there?
It all happened at the same time. I decided, okay, I am going to start my own practice. And then I found out, okay, I am pregnant. That was not planned, but okay, fantastic. Timing. All right, that's okay. And then right after we started, then the pandemic hit. And I had her in the middle of the surge that was in at the end of June. So it was at the peak numbers, just stressful as far as that goes. But it is what it is. It was one of those things my mom kept saying, well, you seem like you should be stressing out more. And I'm like, but what am I going to do? What am I going to do? There's nothing I can do about it. You just got to roll with it. And, everybody's in the same boat. It's not like anyone's not dealing with this pandemic. We're all here together. And, I luckily have a great staff that totally understands. When I was like, I actually had just hired my esthetician. I was like, you can start Monday. I'll be having a baby. Here's what I want you to do until I come back.
My God, who managed your practice while you were away?
So it was at that point, it was just Crystal, which has been with me from the beginning, who is amazing. And we, just talked on a regular basis, and she's able to kind of manage things. So that's been the role that she's actually grown into. And then, I can do a little bit from home, but it was nice to have her and somebody that I've known for a long time to be able to trust, be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. If you can, like you said, this is the direction we need to go. These are the things that need to happen. If you can make sure that happens, that would be great. And they were able to do it, and they're wonderful. I really have a great staff. So I think we've been really, really lucky to find good people and be able to work with them through this to make sure everyone feels valued, and the things that they're having to deal with if they have a sick family member or whatever, be able to support them in all of everything that's gone on, to be able to make sure that things happen the way that they need to happen. Because as like as a surgeon, I have to be like, captain of the ship, here's where we're going. I'm going to be in surgery all day. You guys go to work.
Yeah. That's another good point for having other revenue generators in the practice. For you, it was a baby. For somebody else, it was a running, like they blew out their, ankle or something. I mean, there's so many reasons to think about that. What happens when you can't be there? Does anything happen? Does the whole place stop? It's things to think about for sure. So just to wrap this up, where did you get your motivation from? Do you read a lot? I know that you said you joined clubs, and I think that's super helpful. They always say surround yourself with people that you want to be like, and how do you keep your mindset and how are you so mild mannered? I would be flipping out if I had a new practice and a baby. And another one. You already had a toddler, so now you have.
It's a circus. It's a circus at my house.
Work
is very calm.
That's true.
That's my calm space. I do like to read, and I read as much as I can. And now I've figured out how to read on my phone, so the kids don't know that's what I'm doing. To kind of keep up with different. Like I said, I like to read about things. Like my thing now is, yes, I read a lot about surgery and techniques and what's coming out, but I read a lot of leadership and money management and what, to your point of other business, other income streams, and how can we diversify? How can I diversify as a person, as a surgeon, as a practice, to whenever I'm older and maybe my back hurts, and that the practice is going along just fine, and I don't have to be the one, with everything on my back and getting things, and that's my plan of that's what I'm reading at this point is how do we scale things so when the kids are bigger and they have soccer practice or a soccer game, I can go and the practice keeps going and it's not a big deal, and so I have some flexibility. Mm-hmm. So, and I actually enjoy all of that. I enjoy the business part of it. Like I said, it's always the challenge thing, on to the next challenge and the next challenge. And so actually, I enjoy that part.
Well, good for you. So to wrap this up, do you have one piece of advice for anybody who's either starting out or even who's been around a long time and they're kind of not clear what's happening in the world? Any advice?
It's always okay to make a change, even if you're in a comfortable place and you're thinking, oh, maybe I should, or maybe this, it's okay to make a change. Because like they always say, either that's my ideas that either I'm going to succeed or I'm going to learn. And then the next time I'm going to, know how to do it better, or you get on a different path. You may not know exactly what that path is going to be, but it's going to, you'll get on a path that takes you somewhere that's better than you thought it would be. So it's, it's okay to make a change, and it's okay to to question things. And I think right now everyone is questioning a lot, which is not a bad thing of, okay, where am I? Where am I going? The pandemic's made us look at life a little bit differently. And what do I want? And what do I want out of life and my practice, and how those go together, and and be able to make the decision that works for you. Because I've talked to so many young physicians lately that are like, well, I'm in this employed, just like you said, in this employed situation, and they always say they're really nice people. And I hate to leave, and and I'm like, it's his business, it's business. It is what it is. You can still be friends, but you do need to make the best decision for you, and really be able to look at, like objectively, what do I want, and be okay with making that change, because everybody's going to be okay.
Yeah. One thing I got out of the pandemic was because we all had to stop. We had to just stop. We couldn't keep going. We weren't allowed to. We had to stop and think. And the best part about that, I think, is you really started to ask questions. What do I really want to do? Like I personally simplified. I was doing so many things that were not fun for me, or not interesting, or not going anywhere. I was just trying to be everything all the time. And I thought, why am I doing that? And I say to the surgeons, what do you like to do? Like really pick some procedures you really like, and let's just focus there. Why do everything to everybody when, anyway, so a lot came out of that. So there's always something good coming out of bad, but oh boy, I can't wait till this darn thing is over.
Oh my gosh.
I'm still in California. It's ridiculous. And as if you were busy enough, you're also on the planning committee of the American Academy of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgeons. Yes. And actually, I will see you there. I'm going to be on the podium. Thank you so much. So tell me about that conference, because I want others to attend.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited. We're really excited to hopefully be in person. Every day is, and you take it day by day. So we'll see what happens, but that's a plan so far. We do have options for virtual if that's what we need to do. But it's really exciting. Like some of the planners we have really put together like an amazing program. And I love that we have really taken time to be intentional about who's speaking and what they're speaking about, and making sure there are voices that are heard that haven't necessarily been heard before, and having a diversity of people that are on the podium, and having topics that are, critical to where we're at right now, and I made sure in my part to make sure that there's something for everybody. Are you at the beginning of your career and you're trying to figure out which job? Are you in the middle and you're looking at, okay, how do I either scale or scale back, Or you're in the end, and how do you figure out how to retire or sell your practice, or do people sell practices, or how do you do that, and what do you do with that? And there's some really exciting rhinoplasty and facial rejuvenation talks, and I think it's going to be really good. I love whenever we get together and we talk about everything that's planned out, because it is a little bit different than how it's been before, and there are new and exciting talks, and so I hope everybody can go register.
What do you know the website?
I know it's on the AFPRS website, and you can get to it from there.
Okay, so it's aafprs.com.
Yes.
I can't remember, or .org maybe. I'm sorry, I don't remember. But if you just Googled facial plastic surgeons, I'm sure it'll pop up. Facial plastic surgeon conference, probably. Anyway, I'll see you there. I'm going there in public. Going there for real. I am not doing virtual conferences anymore. I need to get back and meet everybody and see everybody and talk to you and and network again, and like just share ideas. It's so much more difficult to do that virtually than it is when you're together in the hallway. I love hallway huddles at these conferences. You just get so much out of them. So
yeah, there's so much, and just being able to talk to someone after their talk about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and why, and what the details. You're just not going to get that from from a virtual talk. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Good. All right, I will see you there. I believe it is September. I think it's the end of September in Las Vegas at the Palm Hotel, correct?
Yes.
Or what's it called?
Oh, I think it's in the Paris.
That's it, Paris. I knew it started with a P. The Paris Hotel. All right, so I'll see you there. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful.
Sure. Okay, everybody, that's it for this episode. And if you would be so kind as to go to Beauty and the Biz and subscribe, review, and please share this with your colleagues and staff because that's how we grow this. And of course, if you've got any feedback or questions for me or for Dr. Shrum, feel free to give them to me on my website at catherinemaley.com, or you can certainly DM me on Instagram at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again.